The colony ship Aurora's Promise glided through the black sea of space, its silver hull reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. Inside its vast corridors, hundreds of men and women lived, worked, and dreamed. They were on a 50-year journey to a new world far beyond human maps, a planet called Eden 3. This mission was more than travel. It was the hope of a fresh start for humanity. Captain Elias Merrick walked through the main deck, his boots tapping softly on the polished floor. His uniform was crisp, but his mind was full of a new kind of weight. Only 6 weeks ago, he had married Dr. Lyra Vey, a brilliant xenolinguist who had joined the mission to study alien languages. They had found love during the long training years before launch, and now they were beginning both a marriage and a voyage together. Elias had led crews before. He had faced storms on Titan Station, asteroid fields near the belt, and tense negotiations with other human colonies. But being married while commanding a ship of this size, that was new territory. That morning, after a long strategy meeting, Elias returned to his private quarters. Lyra was already there, sitting by the wide observation window. Her long black hair shimmered under the soft light, and her eyes were fixed on the stars drifting past. "You're late," she said, smiling gently. "The council likes to talk." Elias replied, sitting beside her. "Sometimes I think they enjoy meetings more than flying the ship." Lyra laughed softly, but then her smile faded. She turned to face him fully, her voice quieter now. "I have something to ask you," she began, "and I know it might sound wrong." Elias's brow furrowed. "Go on." "It's about my sister, Kayla." Elias knew Kayla well. She was younger than Lyra by 6 years, with sharp intelligence but very little real-world experience. She had joined the Aurora's Promise as a junior cadet in the science division. Her record showed talent, but also inexperience. She was eager to prove herself, maybe too eager. "What about her?" Elias asked. Lyra hesitated. "You know she wants to work in first contact protocol, but the council only trains senior officers for that role. She's been frustrated. She feels like she's not learning enough." Elias leaned back. "Rules exist for a reason. First contact is dangerous. You can't just hand that responsibility to anyone." "I'm not asking you to hand her responsibility," Lyra said. "I'm asking you to help her gain experience, teach her, mentor her, show her what the training manuals don't explain." Elias frowned. "You know that's against mission protocol. If the council finds out I'm training my own sister-in-law, they'll say I'm showing favoritism. It could damage my position." "I know," Lyra admitted. "That's why I said it might sound wrong. But Elias, she's special. I can see it. She thinks differently. She notices patterns I miss. If she can learn from you, she could help when we reach alien space." Elias looked out the window. The stars seemed endless, cold, and silent. He thought about the mission's goals, to find a safe path through unknown territory, to make contact if needed, to avoid conflict. The council's strict rules were meant to keep order, but sometimes rules slowed progress. "What you're asking is forbidden," he said finally. "If anyone finds out, it could end badly." "And if we don't prepare her," Lyra replied, softly, "it could end worse." For a long moment, the only sound was the low hum of the ship's engines. Elias's thoughts drifted back to the briefing he'd attended earlier. The navigators had detected faint signals from deep space, rhythmic pulses not of human origin. They were too distant to interpret, but they were growing stronger. "Fine," Elias said at last. "I'll meet with her. But this stays between us. No one else knows." Relief filled Lyra's face, and she reached for his hand. "Thank you, Elias. You won't regret this." The next day, Elias called Kyla to a quiet room in the ship's training wing. She arrived quickly, her short brown hair slightly messy, her uniform not as neat as it should be. You wanted to see me, Captain? She asked, trying to sound formal. Drop the formality, Elias said. This isn't an official meeting. Kayla's eyes widened slightly. All right. What's going on? Elias leaned on the table between them. Your sister thinks you have potential. She asked me to train you in first contact protocol. Kayla's jaw dropped. Seriously? But that's not allowed. I know, Elias said. That's why you keep this quiet. If anyone asks, we're just reviewing standard science procedures. Kayla's grin spread slowly across her face. I won't waste this chance. For the next hour, Elias began teaching her things she had never read in manuals. How to read micro-expressions on alien-like holograms, how to spot intentional misunderstandings in diplomatic exchanges, how to use tone and pacing in speech, even when words failed. Kayla absorbed every detail with intense focus. That evening, Elias returned to his quarters. Lyra was waiting, sipping tea by the window. How did it go? She asked. She's quick, Elias admitted. Too quick, maybe. She asks the right questions, but she's going to push limits. Lyra smiled knowingly. Sounds like someone else I know. Before Elias could answer, the ship's comm system beeped sharply. A voice came through. The communications officer. Captain, we've picked up another alien signal, stronger this time, requesting your presence on the bridge. Elias and Lyra exchanged a glance. The stars outside seemed a little less silent now. Something was coming. The bridge of the Aurora's Promise was alive with quiet urgency. Lights flickered across the main screen, showing streams of strange symbols and sound waves. The crew moved quickly at their stations, their voices low but tense. Captain Elias. Merrick stepped forward, eyes fixed on the shifting patterns of the alien signal. Where's it coming from? He asked. The communications officer, Lieutenant Soren, pointed to the star map. Sector 9. Still about 3 days away at current speed, but the source is moving toward us. Elias studied the patterns again. The signal wasn't random noise. It had rhythm, almost like music. But the tones were uneven, the pauses strange. It was a language, but one no human had heard before. We record and store every detail, Elias ordered. We'll try standard decoding methods, but I want the science team on standby. Later, in a quiet corner of the science wing, Elias found Kyla waiting. She had heard about the new signal through ship chatter. Is that them? She asked, eyes wide. Possibly, Elias replied. He slid a small data tablet toward her. This is the unfiltered recording. I want to see what you notice. Kayla hesitated. Isn't the comms team already working on it? They are, but they're trained to look for structure first. I want you to look for patterns they might miss. Kayla nodded and began listening through the small headset. The alien tones filled her ears, high and low pitches, some soft, some sharp, with strange gaps in between. After 20 minutes, she pulled the headset off slowly. It's not just random, it's layered. Layered? Elias asked. Yeah, like two voices speaking at the same time, but one slower and deeper, almost hidden under the higher tones. If you only listen to the top layer, it sounds confusing, but the lower layer is steadier, like a heartbeat. Elias leaned forward. Heartbeat? Kayla shrugged. It repeats at perfect intervals. That's not normal in language. Maybe it's a marker, or maybe it's their way of saying, we are alive. Elias felt a quiet spark of respect. None of the official teams had mentioned anything about a hidden layer, at least not yet. This stays between us, he said. And Kayla, good work. The next day, Kayla joined him in the simulation room. He activated the holo projector, filling the space with the image of a tall, vaguely humanoid figure. The alien had no mouth, only a series of shifting color bands across its head. First contact training, Elias said. Lesson 1. Communication is not just about words. Watch closely. The hologram raised one arm, and a thin panel of light appeared, pulsing in different colors. Color bands, Elias explained. Some species use visual signals instead of sound. If you respond with the wrong color sequence, you could insult them or even start a conflict. Kayla nodded, studying the pulses. So it's like learning another alphabet. Exactly. But it's not just memorization. You need to guess intent, read the situation, and react quickly. He put her through a series of quick exchanges. At first, she made mistakes, flashing the wrong sequence or reacting too slowly. But after half an hour, she was anticipating the aliens' responses. Elias gave a small nod. You learn fast. But remember, real encounters aren't this controlled. Kayla grinned. I like a challenge. That evening, Lyra found Elias in the observation lounge. He was looking out at the stars, a thoughtful expression on his face. How is she doing? Lyra asked. Better than I expected, Elias admitted. She saw something in the signal that none of the official teams noticed. She's sharp. I told you, Lyra said softly. She just needs the right teacher. Elias didn't answer. He knew this was dangerous. Every hour he spent secretly training Kayla was another step toward breaking the rules. But part of him couldn't ignore her potential. 2 days later, the signal grew louder. The alien source was now only hours away. On the bridge, the council. Liaison officer addressed the crew. Attention! We are entering the outer range of an unknown vessel. All first contact procedures will be handled by authorized personnel only. No unauthorized analysis or communication will be tolerated. Elias kept his face neutral, but inside he felt a quiet tension. He knew Kayla was listening somewhere, on the ship. She would not be part of the official team, but he also knew she wouldn't simply stay away. That night, Kayla appeared at his door with a data tablet in her hands. I think I know what the signal means, she said quickly. Elias closed the door behind her. Go on. It's a challenge, she said. Not a threat, like a test. The hidden layer I told you about, it changes every few hours. It's like they're giving us puzzles to solve. If we answer wrong, they'll know we don't understand. Elias stared at her. And how do you propose we answer? Kayla tapped the tablet, showing a pattern of tones she had created. Match their heartbeat layer exactly, but add a variation at the end, something they didn't send. That shows we understand the pattern and can create our own. Elias thought about it. It was risky. If she was wrong, it could be seen as mockery. But if she was right, I can't authorize this, he said finally. But I'll pass the idea to the comms team, in my own way. Kayla smiled. That's all I need. The next morning, the comms team transmitted a modified reply, matching the alien's hidden pattern but ending with a short, unique tone sequence. For several long minutes, there was no response. Then the alien signal shifted. The higher layer softened, and the lower heartbeat layer grew stronger, steadier, almost welcoming. On the bridge, the crew exchanged surprised glances. Lieutenant Soren looked at Elias. They've changed tone, Captain, less hostile. Elias only nodded, hiding his thoughts. He knew exactly who deserved the credit. The alien ship was now close enough to appear on the Aurora's Promise's main screen, a massive, dark silhouette against the endless stars. It had no familiar design, no visible engines, no clear front or back. Its surface was covered in shifting lights, like rivers of color flowing across metal. On the bridge, every officer was at their post, watching and waiting. The alien signal continued to flow into the ship's systems, but now the tones were steadier, more deliberate. They're sending a new sequence, said Lieutenant Soren from the communications station. It's longer than before, more complex. Captain Elias Merrick stood with his arms folded, listening. The tones rose and fell in patterns that almost sounded like music. Then came pauses, long, empty moments, as if the aliens were waiting for a reply. Lyra was on the bridge too, observing silently. She glanced at Elias, knowing Kayla would be somewhere on the ship, studying the message on her own. "Can we decode it?" Elias asked. "Not fully," Soren replied. "It doesn't match any known language structures, but it feels like they're asking something." Elias didn't answer. He could feel the same thing, not in a scientific way, but in his gut. It was as if the aliens were trying to measure them to see if humans could understand more than just words. Later that day in the science wing, Kayla sat at her station with the message playing over and over in her headset. She was not part of the official decoding team, the council had made that clear, but she had her own access to data thanks to Elias. She scribbled quick notes on her pad. First sequence, 3 rising tones, then 1 sharp drop. Second sequence, same, but reversed. Third, the drop is missing. Why? She thought about games she had played as a child, puzzles where one had to spot the missing piece. Her eyes lit up. "It's a pattern game," she whispered. "They want us to complete it." She quickly created a possible answer sequence and played it through her headset. It fit perfectly, almost like finishing a sentence. That evening, Kayla met Elias in the small training room they had been using for weeks. She looked more excited than usual. "I know what the message means," she said. "It's another test, like the hidden heartbeat signal, but harder. They're giving us sequences and waiting to see if we can complete them." Elias studied her expression. "You're sure?" "Yes. It's like they're checking our thinking speed, maybe our intelligence." Elias thought about it. "If you're right, this could change everything. But the council, they'll never approve me," Kayla interrupted. "I'm not asking for that. I just want you to pass them my sequence the same way you did before." Elias was silent for a long moment. Each time he broke protocol for her, the risk grew. But each time, she had been right. "All right," he said at last. "But after this, we need to be careful. One mistake, and they'll remove me from command." The next day, the comms team sent the reply. Kayla's completed sequence. At first, the alien ship was silent. Then slowly, the lights flowing across its hull changed. They moved in smooth, wave-like motions, and a deep tone filled the ship's speakers, steady, calm, almost like approval. On the bridge, the atmosphere shifted. Officers relaxed slightly, shoulders easing. The council liaison looked pleased. They seemed satisfied, Soren reported. Elias kept his face neutral. Inside, he was thinking of Kayla. She had passed another test, but now he was certain the aliens were only getting started. That night, a new signal arrived. This one stranger than before. Instead of tones, it was a mixture of sound and image. The ship's main system displayed a series of alien symbols on the screen. Some looked like shapes from nature, a spiral like a seashell, a curve like a river bend, a cluster like a star. Now, others were abstract. The council immediately ordered all research teams to work on it, but this time they also sent a warning: no outside interference. No unauthorized personnel may access this data. For Kayla, this was bad news. Without access, she couldn't work on the puzzle. But she wasn't ready to give up. The next day, she found Lyra in the observation lounge. "They've locked me out," Kayla said. "I can't see the new signal," Lyra frowned. "Maybe that's for the best. You've already helped more than they know." "But what if this test is harder? What if they fail?" Kayla's voice was urgent. "The aliens aren't here for casual talk. They're deciding if we're worth talking to at all. If we fail, they might not give us another chance." Lyra hesitated. She knew the risks, but she also knew her sister's determination. "I'll talk to Elias," she said quietly. That evening, Elias met Kayla in a maintenance corridor far from the main decks. He handed her a small data chip. This is the new signal, he said. You didn't get it from me. And Kayla, if we get caught, it won't just be me in trouble this time. She nodded seriously. I understand. Back in her quarters, Kayla studied the images. She noticed something almost immediately. The symbols seemed random at first, but when arranged by shape rather than order, they formed a path like a map. Her heart raced. The map didn't lead to Eden 3. It pointed somewhere else entirely. A small, uncharted star system ahead of their current path. She stared at it for a long time, realizing what it meant. The aliens weren't just testing them. They were guiding them. Kayla sent a coded message to Elias with her findings. When he read it, he felt both excitement and worry. If she was right, the aliens wanted them to divert course, but without explanation. And the Council would never agree to a sudden change based on unofficial analysis. Elias stood in his quarters, staring out at the stars. The alien ship was still shadowing them at a distance, silent now except for the symbols they had sent. The next move would be dangerous, and it might be the moment when the Council finally learned what he and Kayla had been doing in secret. The Aurora's promise drifted silently toward the coordinates Kayla had discovered in the alien map. The ship's engines hummed steadily, but the crew sensed tension heavier than any engine could create. Every officer, every cadet, every scientist knew they were entering unknown territory. On the bridge, Captain Elias Merrick stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the star-filled expanse. His eyes were sharp, alert, but beneath the calm exterior, a storm of worry churned. The aliens were no longer sending signals in code. Now they were visible, a massive vessel shadowing them like a silent predator. Its surface shimmered with strange energy patterns, shifting constantly. Distance is closing, Lieutenant Soren reported. They're now only 10,000 kilometers away. Elias nodded. All officers, remain at your stations. Maintain defensive protocols, but keep shields at minimal power. We don't want to appear hostile. Meanwhile, Kayla worked in the science wing, poring over the symbols again. She noticed subtle changes in the alien vessel's light patterns, rhythms, pauses, almost like questions. Each pulse seemed directed at her previous solution, as if testing her understanding. Her heart pounded. She had never experienced anything like this. Every instinct screamed that the aliens were intelligent, capable of judging human decisions. If they misread her calculations, it could be catastrophic. She tapped her comm. Captain, I've noticed a change in the patterns. They're responding to our movements and to my sequences. Elias frowned. Are you sure? Yes. I've analyzed the differences. They're subtle, but deliberate. They're testing us again. Elias exhaled slowly. Kayla, the Council will never approve your involvement. If they find out, I know, she interrupted. But we can't wait for approval. If I don't act, we might miss the correct response. On the bridge, the Council liaison officer's voice cut sharply through the tense silence. Captain Merrick, we have received reports of unauthorized access to alien communication channels. Investigate immediately. Elias's stomach tightened. He glanced at Kayla, who was still hidden in the science wing. She had sent him coded results, but someone had discovered anomalies in the system logs. He nodded slowly. Understood, sir. He moved to a secure terminal and began checking access. Logs. Every second passed like an hour. Then he saw it. A record of Kayla's repeated interactions with the alien sequences. The Council would see it as interference, maybe even sabotage. He closed the terminal. It's only a matter of time before they come to me, he muttered. Suddenly, the alien vessel shifted position, and a beam of blue light extended toward the Aurora's promise. It wasn't an attack, not yet, but it illuminated the ship, casting long shadows across the decks. The crew froze, watching. Kayla felt her pulse quicken. The light seemed almost alive, moving across the floor, walls, and instruments. She realized it was not meant to harm. It was probing, trying to understand, trying to communicate. Elias's voice came over her comm. "Kayla, keep your station. Observe only. Do not respond unless I instruct." "Yes, sir," she whispered. Minutes stretched like hours. The bridge hummed with anticipation. Then the council liaison officer spoke again. "Captain Marek, your unauthorized actions have been noted. By order of the Mission Council, you are suspended from command effective immediately." Shock swept through the bridge. Elias felt as if the floor had fallen out beneath him. Suspended? For what exactly? "You violated protocols for first contact operations," the officer said. "Further review is required. Lieutenant Soren will assume temporary command." Elias's jaw tightened. He had known the risk, but seeing it happen now, at this critical moment, was crushing. "I will comply," he said slowly, "but know this. The alien vessel is responding to my instructions. Removing me now could endanger the entire crew." The liaison officer ignored him. "Orders are orders." Kayla remained in the science wing, unaware that the council had formally suspended Elias. She noticed a sudden change in the alien patterns, more intense, faster, almost like a warning. Her mind raced. She realized the aliens were aware of the council's interference. The vessel was testing human leadership, human decision-making, and by removing Elias, they might be judging the crew's adaptability. Kayla made a quick decision. She transmitted a subtle modification to the previous sequence, carefully designed to maintain continuity while obeying the aliens' unspoken rules. It was risky. If the council noticed, it could get her removed. Or worse, but hesitation could mean failure, even catastrophe. On the bridge, temporary Commander Soren received the message. "Incoming sequence? From the science wing?" Elias leaned against the console, fists clenched. "That's Kayla. She's acting on what we've observed. She's the only one who understands it fully." Soren looked skeptical. "She's just a cadet." Elias turned to him, eyes blazing. "She's more than a cadet. She's human. And right now, humans are what this situation needs." The alien vessel's light shifted again. Slower this time, steady. It hovered above the ship, observing, waiting. The blue beam pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. The sequence Kayla sent matched perfectly. The alien light brightened and then dimmed, a signal that could only mean approval. The tension on the bridge eased slightly. For now, Elias allowed himself a breath. "Good work, Kayla," he whispered. But the reality remained. He was suspended. The council was angry, and the aliens were still mysterious. The stakes were higher than ever. In the quiet of the observation deck later, Lyra approached him. "They're not here to attack," she said softly. "They're testing us. All of us." Elias nodded. "Yes, and we've just learned how fragile trust can be. One wrong move, and it could all collapse." Lyra took his hand. "But we still have each other, and we have Kayla." Elias let out a slow breath. "Humans are the only ones who can do what she did. We improvise. We care. We adapt. That's our strength." The alien vessel hovered silently outside, an enormous shadow against the stars. Unknown, powerful, and patient. And the real test was only beginning. The Aurora's promise drifted quietly through the void, its engines a soft hum against the vast silence of space. Outside, the alien vessel remained in shadow, its shifting lights like the slow pulse of a living being. Every officer knew that. Their next move would decide whether humanity earned respect or disaster. Captain Elias Merrick was no longer in command, yet he stood on the bridge anyway, quietly observing. He had been suspended, yes, but his mind raced with solutions. The Council's officers followed protocol rigidly, but Elias knew that to survive, they had to act differently. They had to trust human ingenuity. He glanced at Kayla, who worked at a secondary console analyzing the alien sequences. "Do you see it?" he asked. Kayla's eyes were sharp, alive. "Yes, Captain. The patterns, they're leading us somewhere, but the Council is moving too slow. If we wait, we might miss the window." Elias nodded. He had no official authority, yet he knew what had to be done. "We'll do it our way, quietly, carefully." In the crew quarters, Elias met with Lyra and a few trusted officers. The room was small and dimly lit, but the energy inside was electric. "We have one chance," Elias said. "The aliens are testing us, our ability to respond, to adapt, to think as humans. The Council won't see it. They're too rigid. But we can." Lyra stepped forward. "And Kayla?" "She's key," Elias replied. "She understands the signals in a way no one else does. But every move we make is risky. If the Council finds out, we'll all be in trouble." Lieutenant Soren, now temporary commander, frowned. "And yet, you want to break rules again?" Elias met his gaze. "Sometimes the rules are meant to protect, not to win. This is bigger than protocol." Kayla looked at him with quiet determination. "I can handle it. I've studied the patterns. I know how to answer their test. We just need someone to relay my sequences properly." Elias nodded. "Then we do it tonight, carefully, step by step." The bridge was tense. The alien vessel's blue lights pulsed more rapidly now, almost like anticipation. The crew waited, uneasy. Elias sent a subtle command to Kayla's console, hidden from the Council's monitoring systems. "Begin." Kayla tapped a series of inputs. The sequences from the alien ship responded almost immediately, faster than anyone could anticipate. It was like a conversation without words, a complex exchange of patterns, rhythms, and pulses. Outside, the alien vessel's lights shifted. Waves of color ran along its hull, brighter and more intricate than ever. Every officer leaned forward, eyes wide. Even Soren seemed captivated, though he did not fully understand what was happening. Elias spoke quietly to Lyra. "She's improvising. She's using human intuition, the thing the aliens can't predict." Hours passed in tense silence. Kayla's sequences grew more complex. Each time the aliens sent a new pattern, she adapted, matching their rhythm while adding subtle variations that signaled understanding and cooperation. The aliens seemed to respond positively, but they also increased the difficulty, sending patterns that required rapid adjustment, problem-solving, and careful attention to detail. One wrong move could be seen as aggression. At one point, a misstep caused a brief pulse of red light from the alien ship, a warning. Kayla paused, analyzing quickly, then corrected the sequence. The red shifted to green, signaling approval. Elias let out a low breath. That was close. Too close. Lyra took his hand. "She's remarkable. Humans are remarkable." Elias smiled, faintly. "Yes. This is what sets us apart. We adapt, we learn, we improvise." Suddenly, the alien vessel emitted a low, resonant sound that vibrated through the hull. It was unlike anything the crew had ever heard. The lights on the bridge flickered in response, a warning or a question. It was impossible to tell. Kayla's hands flew over her console. "It's a direct test," she said. "They want more than patterns. They want empathy, understanding, a choice." Elias's heart pounded. He realized she was right. This was not a simple puzzle. It was a test. of human judgment, of courage, and creativity. The aliens were observing not just their technical skills, but their spirit. He looked around at the crew. This is our moment. Trust Kayla. Trust each other. We succeed as humans, not as officers following protocol. Kayla transmitted the final sequence carefully crafted to show understanding, creativity, and cooperation. The alien vessel paused. Its lights dimmed, then slowly pulsed outward in waves, enveloping the Aurora's promise in a gentle glow. On the bridge, a hush fell over the crew. The tension that had gripped them for hours melted into quiet awe. Soren spoke first, voice barely, above a whisper. They accepted it. They're responding positively. Elias nodded. Yes. Humanity succeeded. Not because of rules, but because we are human. Lyra approached Kyla, hugging her tightly. You did it! You led them! Kyla smiled, exhausted but triumphant. We did it. All of us. But the victory was not complete. The council liaison officer appeared on the bridge display, voice cold and sharp. Captain Merrick, your unauthorized actions have been noted. You will face a formal inquiry. Cadet Kayla Vey, your conduct will also be reviewed. Elias stepped forward. Yes, I know. But right now, we have made first contact safely, without conflict. That matters more than protocol. The officer hesitated, then nodded curtly. Proceed with caution. The council will meet to decide consequences. Elias turned to Kayla and Lyra. We'll face the council together, but right now, take a moment, breathe, appreciate what we accomplished. Outside, the alien vessel began to move away, its lights slowly fading into the distance. The crew watched silently. They had faced the unknown and prevailed, guided by human ingenuity, courage, and trust. Elias finally allowed himself a small smile. Humans are special, he said quietly. Not because we follow every rule, but because we think, feel, and act together. That's our strength. Kayla looked at him, eyes shining. And it's only the beginning. The stars stretched endlessly before them. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, the crew of the Aurora's Promise felt the quiet pride of true achievement. They had earned the aliens' recognition and, in doing so, had discovered something even more powerful: the strength of humanity itself. The Aurora's Promise sailed quietly through the black emptiness of space. Outside, stars glittered like distant jewels, and the alien vessel that had shadowed them for so long now drifted beyond sensor range. Its departure did not feel like an end. It felt like a beginning. Captain Elias Merrick sat in the observation lounge, staring at the stars. He had returned to command, though the council still intended to review his actions. The threat of reprimand lingered, but Elias felt no regret. Humanity had faced the unknown and prevailed. Lyra joined him quietly, sliding into the seat beside him. You're awake earlier than usual, she said softly. I couldn't sleep, Elias admitted. I keep thinking about what we just accomplished. Kyla, she's remarkable. She showed them what humans are capable of. Lyra smiled. You helped her. You trusted her. That's what matters. Elias nodded. Yes, but it wasn't just her. Every officer, every cadet, every crew member played a part. This success wasn't because of one person, and it was because of humans working together. Meanwhile, Kyla was in the science wing, reviewing the alien sequences one last time. The patterns had changed, now slower, more deliberate. She realized they were no longer testing. They were communicating appreciation in a way that humans could not fully interpret, but the intent was clear. Her hands hovered over the console. They understand us, she whispered, not just what we say, but who we are. Elias walked, in quietly. "And what does that make us?" he asked. Kayla thought for a moment. "Human, strong, adaptable, brave." Elias smiled faintly. "Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell the council." The following day, the council convened, a formal inquiry. Elias and Kayla stood together before the assembled officers. The tension in the room was thick, but Elias remained calm. He had no doubt about the rightness of their actions. The lead council officer spoke first. "Captain Merrick, Cadet Vey, your actions were unconventional. You violated protocols, took unauthorized steps, and risked mission integrity. Explain yourselves." Elias stepped forward. "We did everything to preserve human life and ensure safe first contact. The rules are important, yes, but they are not stronger than human judgment, human courage, or human creativity. Kayla saw a solution where the rules could not. I trusted her, and humanity succeeded because of it." There was a pause. Whispers spread through the chamber. Many officers exchanged looks. Some nodded slowly, others frowned. Kayla took a deep breath. The aliens were testing more than our technology. They were testing our minds, our choices. I acted because I believed humanity had to show its best, and that meant thinking, adapting, and working together. The council deliberated for hours. When they returned, their decision was clear. Elias and Kayla would not face punishment. Instead, their actions would become a case study for all future first contact missions. Elias exhaled, relief washing over him. Lyra hugged him briefly, whispering, "You were right to trust her." Back on the bridge, the crew celebrated quietly. The alien vessel had disappeared, but the signals it had left behind contained data that would guide humanity for decades. Planetary maps, energy signatures, and cultural insights, all gifts for those willing to interpret them carefully. Lieutenant Soren approached Elias. "I admit, Captain, I underestimated Kayla. And you. Humanity did something the rules couldn't predict." Elias placed a hand on Soren's shoulder. "That's what humans do. We think, we feel, we adapt. Machines follow programs. Rules guide actions. But we make choices that matter." In the following weeks, Kayla was formally promoted to lead first contact operations for the mission. Her experience, intelligence, and courage had proven invaluable. She worked closely with Elias and Lyra, guiding the crew as they approached new star systems with caution, curiosity, and confidence. One evening, as the Aurora's Promise sailed past a glowing nebula, Elias and Kayla stood together by the observation window. "Do you ever wonder if they're still watching us?" Kayla asked. Elias chuckled softly. "Maybe, but if they are, they've seen something that matters. They've seen humans think, create, and care." Kayla nodded. "And that's what makes us strong." "Yes," Elias agreed. "Not just our technology, our ships, or our rules, but our humanity. That is the strength no one can measure, no one can predict, and no one can copy." The journey continued, but the crew of the Aurora's Promise felt a quiet confidence. They had faced the unknown, adapted to challenges, and made choices guided by judgment, courage, and trust. Humanity had proven itself, not through brute strength or rigid protocols, but through ingenuity, empathy, and determination. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, the crew realized a simple truth. No matter how vast the universe, no matter how advanced the civilizations they might meet, human strength would always shine brightest in moments of creativity, courage, and heart. And for the first time in generations, humanity felt truly ready for the cosmos. The Aurora's Promise sailed on, its crew united, its mission clear, and its spirit unbroken. and somewhere beyond the edge of the stars, alien eyes might be watching, not with judgment, but with respect. Humanity had faced the test, and humanity had passed. The voyage of the Aurora's promise was far from over, but the HFY story of courage, adaptability, and trust had already begun.